All right, rockers, in this video I'm with Richard Williams from Xenophon Press, and we're talking about the use of the 18th century square created by La Guérinière in a modern context to prepare a horse for the flying changes. At the end, we'll be really talking about how you set the horse up for the first change, so watch all the way through. All right, rockers, welcome back. We're back with Richard Williams here, the publisher of Xenophon Press, who gives us all this amazing, cool stuff that we can work from the old masters. We're grateful to him. We are back on the subject of La Guérinière. Those of you who are using this blue La Guérinière book, which I often use, well, Richard has published a brown one. Can you just move it across in front of your face? And this one has more chapters in it than what this blue one does, isn't it, mate? And the lovely thing about the brown one that he's got, the old grey one, is that it doesn't just have all this dressage malarkey in it. It's also got the hunting horse and the carriage horse and the war horse in it. Useful stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit today about how to do non-La Guérinière things out of La Guérinière, specifically flying changes. But just before I hit record, Richard was about to talk about the hunting horse, and I was like, no, shut up, hit record so we don't lose it. So he's going to hunting horse. Tell us about the hunting horse before we get to the flying changes, please.
So the hunting horse, and I'm paraphrasing and just going on memory. I have not read this recently, but I was reading this in another edition, and my predecessor at Xenophon Press stopped at basically chapter 18.
Right,
and
the airs above the ground. Yeah,
the airs above the ground and the dressage stuff. But what de la Guérinière says, these people who ride their horses out in the country and they hunt, they go after foxes, or they just, are shooting things with their pistols or their whatever implements, bow and arrow, it doesn't matter. There were different kinds of hunting.
Many. Yep.
And
La Vénerie, as it's called in France.
Yeah. He basically said, if these people would just do a bit of shoulder in prior to asking their horse to gallop or gallop, because the hunting is basically done, in the canter, what we would call the canter, or a strong canter, or a collected canter, or a gallop, or a very controlled canter. If they would just do some shoulder in, then their horses would not have these unseemly canters that are disunited, that are strung out, that are sometimes cross cantering, cantering on the left lead behind and the right lead in front. So the big takeaway from that, if they would just do this, they would have their horses so much more manageable when they're out in open country.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I completely concur with him because, as you may know, I grew up in the hunt field, and I grew up in an area of England called Leicestershire, which is effectively where fox hunting as we know it began, with a man called Hugo Mennel, who lived at a place called Quorn, and in the 1690s he invented the sort of fast going cross country jumpy type hunting that we know today, which then got exported to Virginia with the colonists and etc. However, in France they still hunt in the medieval fashion, which is pursuing usually large game through forests, stag, boar, wolf in the old days, roe deer, and there's not much jumping, but they cover an awful lot of ground. However, I have a friend in Germany, where I live now, who has a pack of bloodhounds. So we actually don't hunt a live thing anymore. We hunt each other with a pack of hounds. And I took my two dressage horses out hunting, and they hadn't hunted before, but they jump. And a couple of the people in the hunt were like, well, these horses ever hunted before? Yeah. We're like, no, they haven't actually. They're like, well, I don't know how they'll do. And so I think they'll do fine. And because they'd gone through all this La Guérinière stuff, it was really interesting to me to test them. It's like, 'cause in my mind, I've actually got no idea how they're going to do. And are they going to lose their shit, out here? And they so did not. And they so met every fence perfectly. And they so, went through the water and did all the things that the other horses perhaps didn't want to do. But more than that, they kept their rhythm and they kept their cool and they kept their head. And as you said, they kept their regularity even across country. quite happily because they were so well balanced. So I think your point is absolutely and in fact, as I sit, you can't see it, but I'm looking at a portrait of my wife's horse above my head here of him. He's a Lusitano Bucephalus, Boo or Boobies to his friends, and he's there jumping a gate out hunting, having a good time. Exactly. I think a lot of people don't understand that the dressage stuff, all this dressagey malarkey stuff, actually just prepares your horse to be out there on planet Earth in a really good way,
Right.
and not fall over, when faced with challenging things. Okay, so that was the diversion. So yes, back to La Guérinière on the hunt horse. Shoulder in, good for hunt horse. We can agree. Yes.
So why, I ask you, why, right? Why
Pull our
shoulder?
hairs out with the Vi.
Why? Fine, but stop calling me Vi. Okay. So the reason that the shoulder in prepares the horse for canter, when we talk about a horse cantering on the right lead or the right lead, we see when we watch this horse cantering in the field, or cantering under a rider, we call it the right lead because the right front leg is out in the lead. It is ahead. It always progresses and
Goes a bit further than the nose usually. Yeah.
further out in space than the left front leg.
Yeah.
When it's on the right lead. But if you look at the horse's haunches, the same is true of the haunches. The right hind leg is always further out in the lead than the left hind leg. If you look at the haunches, it's always further under the center of gravity. The
Right.
left hind leg on a right lead canter is ostensibly the thruster, and the right hind leg is the carrier.
You get me very excited when you say words like that, Richard. I just have to loosen my collar a little bit here. It's too much for a man. Sorry.
So, so, we all grew up saying, you're on the right lead, you're on the left lead, you're on the wrong lead, and how do we tell, when we didn't know how to feel what lead we were on, we looked over the shoulder and saying, okay, do I see his right front leg further out in front? I must be on the right lead. Okay. Or the correct lead or the right lead. But what we weren't necessarily feeling as beginners is that the right hind leg was also in this lead position.
we could only know that if it felt balanced.
Right.
If the horse wasn't wiggly or squiggly or weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we put the horse in shoulder in, we are putting the horse's pelvis in the position of a right shoulder in. We're putting the horse's pelvis in the position of right lead canter.
Absolutely.
We're putting his spine in this soft right curvature. And if we've completed the effect, we've also put his positioning at the pole and in the neck with this very soft yielding of the jaw on the inside, on the right side. This is my right, even though it looks kind of like it's on the left. And he's a little bit more stretched in the left neck behind the left ear. So these three giant components are pelvic position of the horse, the expansion of the rib cage on the
Pelvic
left.
position and expansion. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm the one with the clean, mind. You have a different mind.
Well, I'm a Brit. I'm Brit. So a British South African. What can I do? Yeah.
Right. So a little bit contracted on the right intercostal spaces, expanded on the left intercostal spaces, the spaces between the ribs, and then I'm trying to be serious here. And then, so the French would say, in French horsemanship, there is this wisdom that they say these two things. First, la position. First the position.
Indeed.
And then the movement.
Indeed.
So Jula would say to me, Richard, first put the horse in the position and then deliver the aid. So everything was 2 steps.
That's exactly what Valenza would do as well.
Right.
Always say, position your horse and then activate. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't do any quote active aid
unless you are
unless you're in the position, la position, right?
That's what she
that's
said.
getting me very excited.
Doesn't take much. Yeah.
Right.
I'm easily pleased. Yeah.
So when I am working with riders, including myself, as my first student, I am my first student, then what I do is I ride the horse in the position of, let's say I would be in left shoulder in. But I could do this left shoulder in on a square to the right. I could go around the arena tracking right, and I would just be in left shoulder in position. Remember, I don't have a wall on my left. I have grass. I have sand and grass. So I'm not threatening the horse with the wall of the arena, but I ride the horse in what I call counter walk, counter trot.
What does that mean?
Counter means I am tracking right, but I am bent. I have my horse bent to the left.
Okay.
And I do all manner of things with this counter positioning. So I do shoulder out, I do haunches out, I do just simple what's called second degree bend, which means I travel around the arena with 10-meter left bend, as if I would be ready to do a 10-meter circle to the left, tracking right. I can do 20-meter diameter left bend while tracking right, as if I'm ready to depart.
How is that different to a shoulder in, or are you just bending
There's
the
no
horses?
leg crossing.
Okay.
You've neutralized. You're not doing shoulder in. You're not doing haunches out. You're not doing renvers. You're just
It's not a lateral movement, right?
You're bending the horse from pole to tail to the left. So the important thing here is that the rider's seat and the rider's entire body meshes to the bent body of the horse, and they join in unison. And then I have what?
Sounds ecstatic.
Well, it gets people really awake when I use this kind of language. They pay attention. I do have your attention.
You do.
So in the walk, I say to riders, we're bent left, you're meshed with the horse with this left bend. Now, I want you to gradually reduce this left bend while tracking right let's say it's in the walk. And we've done
gradually get straighter effectively.
Yeah. But here's the caveat. When you go through this slow motion changing of bending, the reducing of the left bend and the straightening must be done very, very slowly. And here's the caveat. You may not do it if you may not proceed unless you feel the horse's back going higher and the horse getting rounder as you do it. If you feel that you're doing it, and first of all, you're skipping over and just trying to get the horse bent right from left bend, you've missed the point. So we're slowing down the rider's perception of time by bending left and slowly removing that left bend. And as we take this left bend and we turn it into the back rising and then bend right. So we're taking the bend from lateral to raising the spine, contracting the horse's abdominal muscles, stretching through the top line. And only if we have met that criteria do we allow and continue on with the new bend to the right.
This sounds indeed like a preparation for a flying change.
Right. So this is, if you start doing this with 4-year-olds and 4-year-old horses and 5-year-old horses and 6-year-old horses, that the new way, whenever a horse is in the walk, it's in the trot, when they're in their body, whenever they change rein in a serpentine, that you have to do it slowly and with this measurement in your own feeling that the back is coming up. So we can't be running. We can't be having inversion. Right. We can't be doing it quickly. We have to do it very, very slowly. So I call this, please do a slow motion. My shorthand, once I've explained this to the student or to myself, please do a slow motion flying change in the walk.
Got it. I love this. I do exactly the same thing when I'm
Yeah.
training people in flying changes. I say, let's go through a visualization here in the walk. And yes, and your point earlier about the shoulders in, by the way, why does the shoulders in help with the quote unquote correct lead? Is of course when you go a little bit that way, say, you put the horse's weight on that hind leg, and then he finds it easier to jump through on that side, whether it's a leg yield or a moment of shoulder in. Absolutely. I totally see the logic.
So here's the thing, because I watched all these people, and not to be crass, but I saw a lot of people in America. We have these different levels, as you do there, intro level, which is just walk and trot, training level, first level, second level, and then third level is the level where we see the first single flying changes. That's third level. And then fourth level, we have a few tempi, maybe three changes along the diagonal, or possibly four at the 4 or 5. But the third, so I call this, when people have not been changing bend, or they've been doing serpentines, but there's a little bit of a drop in the back every time the horse does the change of bend in a serpentine, they're missing the point. So if they start with a 4-year-old horse and their own riding, that they have this idea that I'm not changing the bend unless I feel the back coming up and a feeling of balance at this moment, not running, not sucking behind, but feeling very athletic, balanced in the middle, and the back coming up. So I'm now protracting this period of straightness. I'm making it not be this nanosecond.
You're going from the haunches to the shoulders, and from the shoulders back to the haunches.
And very, you're relishing it. You're reveling in this long period of straightness, which is in between the two bends with the back raised. So that's what I call, doing the flying change. And we do these flying changes in the trot. So I don't tell, I just say left lead trot, right lead trot.
This makes perfect sense.
So I say left lead walk and left lead
Right.
and right
So we
lead
basically
walk.
rehearse the muscle memory of what's going to happen in a flying change
Well,
long
guess what?
before we get there. But
Right.
I've got to nail you down on this though. How does this relate to La Guériniere's square? And the reason why I think this is so interesting is La Guérinière himself does not teach us flying changes, right? This comes later, more in the 19th century. So these 18th century dudes do the counter change of hand, meaning they change around with a balanced counter, which is hard enough. So if you're going to use La Guérinière, an 18th century dead dudes thing, to do a 19th century dead dudes thing, a flying change, let's say, how do you do it?
Go to the next video here and we're going to show you how to execute the flying change. Hope you enjoyed that. Do check out more of our videos with Richard Williams on our channel. If you want to take our free course, look below, heliosharmony.com, how to train the horse in the Old Masters system and have fun doing it, and have your horse have fun doing it. And also check out Xenophon Press and their amazing books on the Old Masters. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. These things massively help the algorithm to help us to help you. If you really like what we're doing here, there's a thank you button down below. Just shoot us a few bucks. If enough of you do that, it really helps us to set aside the time to make more content.